Hello everybody, my name is Kazm, Vulfhart aka King Kazm, whatever you want to call me, and welcome back to Pokemon Violet, the Bug-type Gym Leader run. So, I have made decisions, just to make everything easier on ourselves, since I already have a video series going up of the... My brain stopped working. The DLC, and catching the legendaries and stuff like that. What I will intend on doing for this entire series is thus. We will finish off the classes. We will go about making bonds with our teachers and anybody else we can make bonds with. And we will catch the three other legendaries that are trapped behind the stone stake things. Are they stone? I would assume they were some sort of metal. I'm getting off track. And then we will do the DLC stories, but we won't do the side stuff. Because the stories still technically fall in line with the Gym Leader Challenge, where I have to use bug types only. Kitakami shouldn't be that difficult, but I will have an issue. I won't have an issue. I won't have an issue, but there will be a challenge with at least one of the trainers for, or one of the BB League Elite Four. So let's finish off math. As much as I hate it, I'm gonna get so angry. I've learned something recently. Okay, so this has to do with crits. It's increased by half. Yes, 1.5. Sniper increases it by 1 point, or by 2. I think Sniper deals double damage. Wait, don't crits do double damage? I apologize. Y'all are going to be looking at the screen for just a little bit. Pokemon crit damage. Okay, with Sniper it does double damage. Got it. No, it's not. Kind of yes, kind of no. It should be 25%, shouldn't it? Great. Alright, give me a second. I need to look this up because I feel like this is going to anger me if I don't. Probability. This is a weird sentence. Hang on, let me read this out to you guys. Probability. When a move scores a critical hit, it is determined by comparing a 1-byte random number, 0 to 225, against a 1-byte threshold value, also 0 to 225. If the random number is strictly less than the threshold, the Pokemon scores a critical hit. For the given threshold, the probability score of the critical hit is T over 256. Bleh. That was confusing to read. In Generation 1 Core Series games, the threshold is normally equal to half the user's base speed. If the move is, it would be 8 times. Gen 2 onwards is what we're looking for. This is what I was talking about a while ago, and I'm going to read it again. I'm going to read it because I have it in front of me now. The probability of landing critical hits is no longer based on the attacker's base speed, but rather is based on a fixed formula for all Pokemon. Similar to stats, there are temporary in-battle stages used to determine the probability that a particular move will be a critical hit. So, in our current generation, okay, so it'll be 4%. So in current generation, what we have now, which is Gen 9, plus zero, no stages whatsoever. It is a 4% chance to score a critical hit. With one stage, which is gained through using stuff like... I'll get to the stage modifiers in a second. With one stage, it becomes 12.5%. With two stages, it becomes 1/2, which is 50. And with 4 and above, it becomes always 100%. This is why I thought it was like, oh, it's 25%, and then it goes. I didn't think that about it. Squaring itself? No, if it squared itself, it would be more than that. Is it times 4ing itself? No. I don't know how they calculated that math. Here's how to increase it by one stage. Oh, wait, hang on. If a Pokemon has maximum affection or friendship, the probability from the above is multiplied by 2. And she's talking about it now. How to increase the stages. But for me, reading that wasn't as didn't help me understand as best I could compared to what this Bulbapedia is telling me. So the way to increase the stages is to use moves with high crit ratio. That instantly makes them a +1. There are ways to increase it by more than one stage, but this stuff is very finicky. For example, 10 million volt Thunderbolt, Spatial Rend used by Origin Form Palkia. Those are things that are like locked within the generations that they were released. And only in those games, pretty much. Those attacks have even higher probability of scoring a critical hit, making them a 2-stager, which makes it basically crits 50% of the time. Everything else is pretty much a 1-stager. With the exception being Dire Hit 3 and Dire Hit 2, which are Wonder Launchers. Held items, Razor Claw and Scope Lens also give you a 1. Yes. 1 stage. Stick or Leak for Surfetched and Farfetch'd give a +2, while the Lucky Punch gives Chansey a +2, so for those two it is a +2. Those are less finicky. Super Luck as an ability gives us +1 stage. And Getting Pumped is Dragon Cheer and Focus Energy / Dire Hit. Dragon's Cheer gives you a +1. Focus Energy and Dire Hit gives you a +2. This is confusing. Okay, listen to this. Dragon Cheer when used on a non-dragon. Oops, I can't read. Water gun hits a fire-type Pokemon. Double damage. Razor Leaf hits a fire-type Pokemon. Half damage. I hate you. What percentage does a Pokemon usually have? 4%. 1.5 times as much. I'm actually pretty good at math. Usually when I go silent and I stare at something for a while, it's me trying to figure out a math problem in my head. But I did learn something recently about math and modern day schooling and stuff like that. Word problems are bullshit. And here's why I say that. So, part of the issue with math problems, in my opinion, the word problems specifically, is that you're adding in extra factors and variables that screw with the person's mind. And that's part of the issue. It's not that the person's bad at math, it's that they don't have the mindset needed to do word problems. Not everybody has this issue, by the way. I want to point that out. There are some people who are really good at word problems. There are some people who are really bad at word problems. A lot of the time, though, I see a lot of people with bad at word problems. An example that I saw, it was a video that was animated, thankfully, but I feel like the actual video was a lot not okay. It's about a child being taught by his mother how to do math. And she says, "What's 2 plus 3?" And he says, 5. That's the correct answer. Then she immediately adds in a word problem afterwards, which the answer is still 5. She says, if your friend Tim has 2 apples and you give him 3 apples, or was it 3 apples and you give him 2 apples? Regardless, same ending, different orders. How many apples does he have? And he says, I think he says 52 or something like that. And she starts going off on him. I'm not going to say what the whole video is, but needless to say, the father does the same thing. And my biggest issue, my biggest issue with that is, like, the kid got the answer right. Why are you asking the same question in a word problem? The other issue is adding letters and stuff, which is why algebra is such a big, what's the word I'm looking for? %, more damage. Excuse me. Like, algebra is such a big hurdle for a lot of people. Because algebra is when they add in letters to the mixture of the numbers. And that's why I think a lot of people struggle with math. So what is it? 50%? 4 stages? Triple damage. It's additive, not multiplicative. And for those that don't know, when you are adding percentage, when it is additive, you're adding the percentages together as if they were regular numbers. So 4 50% is 200%. Multiplicative means you're multiplying each percent added, each subsequent percentage to the number that you get. So 50% times 200 would be 100%, would be 100. No. Yes? Yes. Would be 100 because it's half of 200. And then multiplying that again by another 50% would be 50. So 200 times 100% is 50. What? I think I just hurt my brain. I think I just hurt my brain. Ignore that statement. Okay, simply put, need to be careful with the multiplicative and additive nomenclatures. But whenever you add word problems to a child's child's. I want to point out this out. This is a child's math teachings. You muddy it a bit because you're adding stuff that the child now has to think about, and they don't know that they don't have to think about it. They don't know that they have to just think about the numbers. And that's the issue with math nowadays. We're putting stuff like we as adults understand how math works and how to look for the numbers in word problems. But as a child who is like anywhere between 7 and 10, that's not something they need to worry about because, number one, they don't have the... how do I want to put this? They don't have the awareness of making sure... Not making sure. They don't have the awareness of being good Samaritans and stuff like that and giving gifts and making sure the math... They don't have the I'm stumbling over my... I'm not stumbling over my words. I'm just having issues with this. She's giving us statistics in a regular math class. But what I'm trying to say, a child doesn't need to think of more complex thought than what is 2 plus 2. And stuff like that. A child shouldn't have to think about that stuff. The most complex thought they should be having is, what cartoon do I want to watch? Or if they play video games, what video game of mine do I want to play? What game do I want to play with my friends? Do I want to play outside today, or do I want to stay inside today? They shouldn't have to solve a, 100-word problem on their math homework. And I think that's why we get a lot of issues with schooling and stuff like that. To quote Mr. Incredible, math is math. And that statement actually is pretty damn true. Yeah, you have algebra and stuff like that. And I get it, at a younger age, kids are going to be learning algebra. When I say younger, I mean they're pre-tweens. I don't know. I can't remember when I actually learned algebra. It was when I was younger, but obviously I don't remember my age. I'm using surf. I mean, she's right. It is all dependent on the situation. I really should have said it depends on the situation. But I'm sorry, if I'm going to pick between Surf and Hydro Pump, Surf's going to be my better option. Yeah, Hydro Pump's going to be dishing out more damage, but Surf is reliable. And in competitive, you want reliability over chance. But so I'm not angry at her for that one. Although I don't like that she keeps using trick questions on children. But I do think that that's why we run into the issue that we're running into now with schooling and stuff like that. Too many kids are being taught shit they don't need to know. Like, okay, this might paint me in a bad light, and this might be a little bit controversial, but hear me out on this one. Just listen to the end, and I'll try my best to explain it the way I'm trying to properly explain it. So, I think at the younger age of when puberty starts, a child should not be taught the full understanding of gender identity unless they really... Let me rephrase that. At not puberty. I don't mean puberty. I mean at a younger age, younger than puberty. I don't think that a child who is like anywhere between 5 and 7 should have to worry about what gender identity is. When they get older and puberty starts to hit, and usually when that stuff starts to click into their heads about their own identity and stuff like that, that is understandable of when they should start learning what gender identity is. The reason being is because, once again, children, unless this is already proven to be an issue for them mentally, and there are ways to figure that out. There's like just asking them straight up, "Are you a boy or a girl?" "I'm a girl," even though they're born a boy. At that point, at that point, start like gathering evidence to determine whether or not, yes, they are having gender identity issues. But at that point, it should be a not a red flag on the parent, not a red flag, but like a flag for the parent to pay attention. So, using the same example of the little girl who was born as a boy, for most of their childhood, they weren't really shown to be having issues with themselves. They weren't showing to have identity issues. They weren't showing to be depressed or anything like that. They were just a kid having fun, but they liked the quote-unquote girly stuff. Girly in quotation marks. Like, they liked dressing up. They liked wearing their mother's makeup. They liked the baby dolls and stuff like that are honestly so freaking archaic, and I hate them, and they're terrifying looking. But they liked the quote-unquote girly stuff. Then they reach puberty. When puberty hits, their hormones go out of whack, and they start to realize, I'm not a boy. I am actually a girl. And that's when gender identity should be something that's taught as the baseline. If it uses it and hits an opponent that is weak to that power, stab and then doubled, right? Yep. I'm not even paying attention. I'm getting good at it. But the baseline should be when puberty's hitting, and probably even after a little bit of when puberty's hitting, because you need them to be aware of it, like aware of their own bodies and aware of their own selves. And I'm sorry, like, no matter how smart the child is, a 5 to 10-year-old is not aware of themselves. Like, they are, but they aren't. Like, they are aware that they are a person. They are aware they have feelings and emotions and stuff like that, but they don't have the deeper understanding of it. But I have seen cases where a child is having identity issues, and they are definitely like a child. Like, they are 5 and stuff like that, and they're like, I'm not a boy, or I'm not a girl, I am the opposite gender, or I don't have a gender. And that's when I think you should start easing them into the gender identity issues, is when they start having the problem with themselves. It shouldn't be forced down their throats at a young age when there isn't an issue. It's like having the sex talk with them. Like, yeah, you want to protect their innocence and stuff like that, but there is nothing wrong with teaching them the basics. Like the concept of how do I want to put this? The concept of sex is interesting. Well, obviously it's interesting, but like, so if a 5-year-old were to ask their parents, "How was I born?" the common thing would be like, "Oh, you were born in a Cabbage Patch. You were born in the stork." But what if instead you said, "Well, when you're older, we'll go into more detail, but I'm adopting the role of the father in this scenario. I loved your mother very much. We spent a night together, and 9 months later, you were born. And when you get older, we'll go into more details." I'm not saying that we need to teach them exactly how sex works at a young age. What I'm saying is, there are ways to explain this to them in a way that still preserves their innocence, but also gives them an answer that makes sense. I actually knew a guy who he asked his parents his sister asked how she was born, and he was, I think, like 3-ish years older than her. And his parents just straight up told them both how, like, the reproductive act works. And he wasn't really screwed up or anything like that. Like, he had his moments, but like that's not what screwed him over. I even hesitate to say that it screwed him over. He was a decent guy, and he had his moments. But then again, everybody has their moments. But what I'm trying to get at is what 5. I gotta make sure she's not trying to trick me again. 5, right? Yes. Water type move with the power of 100 lands a critical hit on grass type. What's the order of operations here? $75. It'd be less if it wasn't. Under normal conditions, Stone Edge is a high crit move, so it's 12%. Physical. Boost attack, physical moves, triple damage. Sorry, I'm trying to focus on the math real quick. Because it adds extra stab, it'll be 2. Yes. Okay, going back to the gender identity stuff, because that's not controversial or anything. I'm not saying we shouldn't teach kids how to identify their gender identity and stuff like that. I just think we shouldn't teach them at a young age. If the parent thinks they can handle it, okay, if the parent is 100% sure and not basing it on bias, their own biases, because I know there are some people who do not deserve to be parents. If the parent is 100% sure that their child can handle the gender identity route and that they need it, teach it to your kids. You teach it to your kids, not the schools. You do. If they have gone through most of their life not having an issue with gender identity, and they reach the point in their lives where they are... By the way, that was the last class. See? Last class. If they have reached the point in their lives where they... Pardon me, I'm going to go keep looking for more steaks. If they have reached the point in their lives without having any issues with their gender identity, and they are relatively well-adjusted people, then I think touching on the subject of what a gender identity is fine. In schools. Once again, I don't think it should be fully up to the schools to teach it. I think it should be a tandem effort between the schools and the parents. Mainly the parents, because number one, we don't have enough. That's not shiny, right? We don't, in my opinion, have enough. Okay, it's not shiny. Parent-child interaction, in my opinion, with stuff like this. And I get that for some people it can be very awkward. It's an awkward conversation to begin with. I'm feeling awkward talking about it because I'm not somebody that's like a big named psychologist or anything like that. I'm just a random guy on YouTube making YouTube videos while playing Pokémon. But, like, part of the reason I'm bringing it up is because, like, these kids are literally the future of our generation, and it pisses me off to watch some random doctor from California. I'm literally just using California as an example. I'm not pointing anybody. California is just the thing that popped into my head. Leave me alone. I don't think some random doctor from California should be able to say how we raise our children. I don't think some random psychologist from, I don't know, Japan should be telling us that we should be teaching our children how to do nuclear physics at age 2 because that's when they found out that that's the best time for a child to be able to retain that information because of their psychology studies. What I'm getting at with all this random bullshit is not only do you as a parent have a responsibility to make sure that your child is getting the information from the proper sources, you have a responsibility as a parent to make sure that they understand not just the world around them, but themselves as well, without coercing them into thinking that your biases are theirs. Once a child starts gaining their identity, it is their identity. You do not shape them at a young age, because that's technically grooming, by the way, to be an anti-Semitic incel. You don't teach them at a young age to be a radical leftist feminist who thinks that all men should have their dicks cut off. You teach them, and this is where opinions clash, and I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with everything I say, and that's fine. I'm not going to be a dick about it. If you are a extreme leftist, I'm sorry. You can disagree with me all you want, you're not going to scare me. If you are a anti-Semitic incel on the right side of the aisle, I should say, okay, cool, you're not going to scare me. I don't care. Your opinions are your own. I don't agree with them. But you shouldn't shape your child in the way you want them to be. You should let them shape themselves. Be there when they need you. If your child stumbles and ends up in jail because they accidentally got into a stolen vehicle, tell them that was stupid of you, but it wasn't your fault because you didn't know it was stolen. If they break into a convenience store, ask them why. And if they say, I needed money, have a sit down with them, talk with them, and be like, okay, you need a job in order to get your money. And you need to not be stupid and steal stuff. Like, at that point, it is not the school's problem. I hate to say it, it's not the school's problem. Yes, we need better schooling so that our kids are less likely to do this shit, but still, you know what I mean. Like, it is not the school's responsibility to scold the child that basically broke the law. It's yours, as the parent. Which is why I think, like, we've put too much responsibility on all the schools. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We've put way too much responsibility on schools, and they already don't get paid enough. The teachers don't get paid enough. The schools don't get paid enough. The people in charge of the schools, well, they get paid plenty because they pocket all the money. Because they're assholes. But genuinely speaking, like, I have no problem with gender studies and, like, gender identity studies and all that stuff. I have no issue with, like, hell, to be honest, I don't even really think it's a bad, like, well, actually, no, I do think at this point in time, it's a bad idea to, like, teach your kids how politics works. But, like, if we could give kids an education on politics that is 100% unbiased, not left, not right, straight down the middle, here's what the leftists think, here's what the rights think, here's what, can we please change the name? Democrats and Republicans, okay, I'll go with that. Here's what Democrats think, here's what Republicans think, here's their views versus the other people's views. If we can teach an unbiased version of that, I think it's fine to teach kids politics. Not at a very young age, mind you, but like at an age where they can start understanding politics, like say 16. Like around age 16 is probably when we should start teaching them about politics and stuff like that. Because then they can start, like, thinking about it. Where are these stakes? Because that's when they can start, like, thinking about it critically. critical think. I think that's what I've been trying to get at. Critical thinking is basically what we need to wait for children to unlock before they start learning the big stuff, the big adult stuff. But once again, I don't have kids. I'm not a child psychologist. I'm just a random guy on YouTube. These are my opinions. You don't like them, that's fine. You don't have to watch my videos. Hell, if I start talking about something you don't like, just skip the video. I mean, I'll be sad because you won't watch the full video, and I won't get all that sweet hours. I'm not getting paid for these yet as of recording this episode, so yeah, at the moment, I just like watching my watch hours go up. It's a fun number to watch. No, it's not. It's stressful. Being a YouTuber is actually kind of stressful in the beginning, if I'm being completely honest. But I think I'm going to have to call it here. I cannot find these stakes for the life of me. I'm going to have to look it up again. And I hate that. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Let me see more content like this in the future. And if you come back on the regular and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It's free. It helps out a ton, and I'm greatly appreciative. And if you can share this video with your friends, your family, your favorite... I'm trying to think of who you can share this with. Your favorite mathematicians. I'd appreciate that as well. And as always, I will see you as we continue our adventures in Pokemon Violet, the Bug-type Gym Leader Run. Bye-bye!